WCBI News at 6 starts now.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. The morning rush at a Shannon convenience store took a deadly turn. Investigators say a domestic argument led to a shooting there. 2 people are dead. Our Allie Martin has been in Shannon through the day and has the very latest on what happened.
The front door at Griggs Gas and Grocery was covered to hide the gruesome scene inside. Lee County Sheriff Jim Johnson says about 6 a.m. a woman came inside the store. She bought some food and went to her car, but in a panic moments later came running back inside.
At that particular time, she was hollering for help, made a statement that there was someone trying to harm her.
Johnson says seconds later the woman's boyfriend walked in the store. The woman hid behind a Shannon police officer who was at the counter buying coffee. Investigators say the suspect pulled a gun and reached around the officer, who had his arm extended, trying to hold the suspect at bay.
Fired several rounds, and it was a fatal shot to the female that had previously came into the store. At that particular time, the police officer returned fire, and it was a fatal shot that took out the suspect that came in and did the shooting.
Throughout the morning, authorities interviewed witnesses, customers, and employees who were inside the store when the shooting started. Everything was caught on security cameras from the time the suspect came in the store and started shooting to the time, seconds later, when the Shannon police officer stopped the threat.
Certainly the presence of the officer being there and reacting in the way that he did minimized what could have possibly happened.
As investigators documented the crime scene and collected evidence, additional officers were called to keep the peace between family members of the victim and suspect. The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation is handling the case. In Shannon, Allie Martin, WCBI News.
And late this afternoon, the 2 people killed in the shooting were identified as 32-year-old Kentori Sims and 38-year-old Shahara Coggins. No one else in the store was harmed. A man already in jail in Lowndes County could find himself doing more time in jail. A law enforcement credited a WCBI viewer. 42-year-old Brian Bowman was charged by Lowndes County deputies this week with possession of stolen property. Now his rap sheet will include Winston County. Sheriff Jason Pugh charged Bowman with uttering forgery today. He's expected to face multiple charges in Louisville and Winston County. Investigators there sent a WCBI these pictures yesterday showing a suspect who was accused of writing checks on a closed account. Several of those checks had been written in Winston County and inside the city limits of Louisville. A WCBI viewer saw the images and called Crime Stoppers. Bowman was interviewed by Pew today and was later charged. The Starkville man remains in jail. The Mississippi State Department of Health reports its first identified case of a vaping-related lung illness, and a vaping connection is being investigated in the death of a Monroe County woman. The director of the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics says the agency is finding vape liquids laced with more than what they're marketed to contain. Agents have discovered liquid containing spice, THC, the compound in marijuana that makes people high, and even fentanyl. Some items were bought on the black market. Others came from convenience stores where folks may think they're safe.
It's creating a problem. I think it's only going to get worse. And again, you know, if you're out there buying this stuff in a convenience store or buying it on the street, you have no idea what you're getting and what it potentially can do to your body.
Dowdy believes state lawmakers may need to consider a way to regulate the products. Curtis Flowers is asking the murder charges against him be dismissed. According to APM reports, Flowers' new civil rights attorney has filed a motion to dismiss. A second motion is requesting bail. Flowers is facing a 7th trial for the 1996 murders of Bertha Tardy and 3 others at Tardy Furniture Store. Flowers was arrested, charged, and tried 6 times in all. Earlier this summer, you may remember the U.S. Supreme Court threw out its latest conviction and death sentence. The High Court found that District Attorney Doug Evans violated Flowers' constitutional rights by intentionally striking African-American jurors. Other trials have ended in mistrial or they've also been overturned. Flowers' attorney Rob McDuff wrote about the lack of forensic evidence, motive, and methods in his motion. Flowers remains in Parchman, where he has been for the past 22 years. Former Kossuth Middle School coach Micah Wilbanks will spend 37 months in federal prison for attempting to violate, or rather videotape, young girls changing clothes in a locker room. Wilbanks was arrested in May of 2018 when someone noticed a camera positioned to view the locker area. He was originally indicted for sexual exploitation of children. A plea agreement dismissed that indictment. Now Wilbanks has received the 3-year and a month sentence for attempted possession of child pornography. Volunteer firefighters from across Lowndes County battle a fire at a business late this afternoon. The blaze happened outside of Appliance Plus. This was on Highway 182 West. A scrap metal pile caught fire and then quickly spread. Firemen from Districts 2, 4, and 5 are all on scene today. There were no injuries. The fire is under control. Lowndes County Fire Coordinator Neil Austin says the cause of the fire is still under investigation. The sound engineer for the country music and gospel singer Josh Turner is killed in a California crash. Bruce native David Turner, is the man California investigators say was killed after Turner's tour bus crashed. 7 other people were injured. California fire crews say the tour bus left the Vina Robles Amphitheater after a Josh Turner concert Wednesday night. Turner was not on the bus. It left the road and went down a 50-foot cliff. Turner has canceled the remaining shows for this month. Time to turn our attention to weather. Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson here now to give us a first look at our forecast tonight. Keith?
Well, Andrea, more sunshine out there today, mixing with some clouds right now. A live view in downtown Columbus here at 6:07. We've got temperatures in the 80s. Not the 90s like we've had over the last couple of days around here, and it looks like it's going to be a great evening, so get out there and make the most of it. Currently 80s. Most of the rain and storms have been building back to our west, and at this point it looks like we should remain dry in our area. So 80s giving way to 70s here this evening. Lows will be down into the mid to upper 60s. Your weekend forecast in just a few minutes.
Bulldog Bash brings thousands of people to Starkville every year. This year marks the Bash's 20th anniversary, and the big ticket lineup is expected to draw the biggest turnout in the event's history. Our Riley Livingston takes a look at how MSU and the city prepare for the event.
It may look like business as usual in downtown Starkville, but by Friday afternoon, tens of thousands of people will be filling the streets for Bulldog Bash. An event like this one doesn't come together overnight. It takes months of planning.
This is a year-long planning process. We've been working ever since last year's event ended. There's a student group that puts on this event, and so they start working really hard in February with selecting the artists, working on the logistics.
The star of the show is rapper T-Pain, but that's not all drawing people to the area.
This year we've actually got more Maroon Market vendors coming down, so art vendors from the Cotton District Arts Festival, area artisans, all of that coming in. There will also be a kids zone with some inflatables, and then the live music that's happening throughout the day and on main stage.
The Starkville Police Department is expecting this year's event to be the biggest they've seen. Because of that, security will be the tightest it's been in years.
What we'll be doing is we have a 100% bag and carry-on check. We also we'll be checking for weapons, any other illegal items. Those are the main things, big thing. We want to push no weapons this year. We always push it every year, but this year, again, we're going to check 100%.
People will head to the bash throughout the day, but when that last song plays, leaving may be a little harder.
Be kind to your neighbor. Try to get along. Everybody will be trying to get out of there at one time. Just do your best to get along, get home, or get wherever you're going safely and wisely.
Now the roads will begin closing at 2 o'clock in the morning. The bash will officially kick off at 3 p.m. tomorrow. You can see a full list of road closures on our website, wcbi.com. So while the downtown streets may be closed tomorrow, the businesses along those streets will be open. Many stores are getting ready for the bash by staying open later and then beefing up staff. Store owners say home game Fridays can be their busiest days, and they hope people will stop by on their way to the bash. While the increased crowds can be good for business, the closed streets could pose a problem.
It's a little hard for business owners, like parking's really bad, and people want to come and they want to park in front of your store and they want to shop all day. So it does deter a little bit of business. So I want to remind everybody to park and walk. It's not that far.
Rebecca Craker says she also hopes bash goers will be respectful to the downtown Starkville area and all the businesses down there. Some local students embrace a global idea. We take a look at how they're doing it when we come back. Students in Houston are awarded for their scores on last year's state test. Houston Upper Elementary held a special ceremony today to celebrate this academic achievement. The students who scored the highest on state exams got prizes, including money. Some of them even got drones today. The PACE organization is part of the Create Foundation, which makes the celebration possible. The students were so successful that the school had to hold 3 award ceremonies today. Meanwhile, Annunciation Catholic School is celebrating International Day of Peace, and they're doing it with these beautiful pinwheels. Students created the pinwheels and wrote their thoughts about war, peace, and tolerance on them. They spent the morning planting their creations on the school lawn. Students and staff hope the spinning wheels will spread thoughts and feelings about peace throughout the community and the country as a whole. The school hosts this observance every year.
Live view with our Alpha Insurance Camera Network. We have a pretty nice sunset developing with some of those higher clouds out there. A lot of sun, pretty nice weather for your weekend. We'll talk about it coming up next.
Your WCBI First Alert AccuWeather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson.
Great to see you on our Thursday evening. Our Alpha Insurance time lapse from downtown Louisville, Mississippi today shows some of those clouds that we're moving on through. We had a mix of sun and clouds throughout the course of the day. A lot of sunshine mixed with some higher clouds out there right now, getting ready for the sun to set as we showed you going to break. But no rain to speak of in our area today. We just have a couple of echoes being detected by radar. Those are not reaching the ground, but back to the west out here in the Delta, some pretty good downpours, showers, and storms also down towards Canton and east of Jackson and into central and southeastern Mississippi. That's where the rain has been. We were a bit concerned that we may miss out on the rain today. That's indeed what happened as that boundary really pushed just to our west, and that's where the rain formed, and all that rain out there in Texas and Louisiana is not coming our way either. So I think for the most part we are dry this evening. We are looking at a partly cloudy day tomorrow as high pressure comes back in. Dry weather continues as we get into your weekend. So speaking of that drier air, look at those dew point values. The lower the number here, the better the air feels, and that air is coming our way, and that's why we're looking at some pretty nice evening and overnight temperatures and even early morning temperatures going through the weekend. Currently, we are in the 80s. We'll fall down into the 60s for lows tonight. Saturday football, Ole Miss, MSU, and Alabama at home. A lot of sunshine here. Afternoon temperatures in the upper 80s to around 90. You'll need your sunscreen, your hats, your sunglasses. Yet again, not as hot as the last 2 weekends, but still hot if you're sitting in that direct sunlight. For your Friday, 7 o'clock, 67, noon, 81, 4 o'clock, 87 or 88, give or take here. Some of you maybe only 86, but we're looking at a nice Friday around here. Winds from the southeast at about 5 to 15 miles per hour, and that'll provide a little bit of natural relief, especially if you are in a little bit of shade. Here's your AccuWeather 70 forecast. 88 tomorrow, 63 tomorrow night, 89 Saturday. Again, low 60s Saturday night. So those overnights, early mornings, and after the sun goes down in the evening, it's looking really good around here for the next few days. 90 Sunday. Fall begins Monday. Still around 90 early next week. There may be a few showers and storms around early next week with a frontal boundary around here. We're kind of wishy-washy on exactly what we're going to get. Assume no rain at this point until proven otherwise, and really just above average temperatures through most of next week as well.
SEC play comes to Starkville for the first time this season. More on the matchup with the Wildcats next in sports.
Your WCBI Sports with Courtney Robb is brought to you by your local Ford dealers. Go further.
Week 4 of the college football season begins a difficult 2-week stretch for Ole Miss. The Rebels are set to face 2 top 25 teams, beginning with 23rd ranked California on Saturday. Ole Miss coming off a win against Southeastern Louisiana. Scotty Phillips, Jerry and Ely, Elijah Moore, and Jason Pellerin all scoring touchdowns to help secure that win. Tight end Jason Pellerin wearing a green jersey in practice this week, saying it's just precautionary before such an important game this weekend.
Just got to have everybody on board this week, make sure that we're all healthy and ready to go against Cal. They're a good team, so we have to have our best effort.
I think they know it's an important game. It's a home game. We really tried to stress the importance of winning at home and protecting your home, and just you have an opportunity to play a ranked team at home. And as we're fighting and scratching and clawing, trying to battle our way out of this, this becomes a very important game for us.
The tables look like they've turned on Mississippi State this season. In 2018, the Bulldogs defense ranked second in the nation, limiting teams to 13.2 points per game. And heading into this week, MSU's defense ranked 67th, averaging 24.7 points allowed per game. As the Bulldogs prepare to open up SEC play against the Kentucky Wildcats, their team averaging 32.3 points per game. Cornerbacks coach TERRELL Buckley saying any player on the Wildcats team is capable of putting up big numbers.
It is conference play. Every player out there capable of beating you. So you have to lock in and zero in on what you have to do, your responsibility, and play hard. Because if not, any play, any route, they can take it to the house.
It was a humbling experience because, we thought we had them. We was all cocky all over the week. I guess we weren't prepared, but, this year, they're a pretty solid team, even though they lost their quarterback, but they're still a pretty solid team, so we're just going to give them the ups with that and just be prepared for them.
Bryant-Denny Stadium, the home of the Alabama Crimson Tide, is normally filled with crowds of crimson and white. Wednesday evening, the home of the Crimson Tide was blue in honor of Dornell Cousette, a Tuscaloosa police officer that was killed in the line of duty on Monday. Cousette's police car will also be parked at the stadium through Friday. The Chad Kelly saga continues. The former Ole Miss quarterback signed with Indianapolis in May as a potential third-string QB. He was then released on Wednesday after returning from a 2-game suspension. Now it appears he's back again. After clearing waivers, the Indianapolis Colts announcing today that they have added Kelly to the team's practice squad. Kelly will serve as the number 3 behind starting quarterback Jacoby Brissett and backup Brian Hoyer. 5th-ranked EMCC hits the road for the first time since week 1. The Lions get set to play Mississippi Delta. That first road game for the Lions was unforgettable. Hines snapped EMCC's 17-game winning streak, and since then the Lions have outscored their opponents a combined 97-3. The last time Mississippi Delta and EMCC met, the Lions beat the Trojans 54-13. The Lions under head coach Buddy Stevens have never lost a game against Mississippi Delta at home or on the road. That's it for sports. Your last look is after the break.
Fall just around the corner, but we have one last weekend of summer. Lots of sunshine here, still summer-like, but not as hot. Upper 80s here Friday, Saturday. Low 90s starting Sunday and into the first few days of fall. We're dry through Sunday. Maybe a little bit of rain early next week, Andrea, but all things considered, any outdoor plan this weekend looks A-OK.
All right, speaking of this weekend, people in Starkville, don't forget, streets will begin closing at 2 a.m. That is the news at 6. Enjoy the rest of the night.